Hi everyone, I am Bharati from Careers 360 and we are in a conversation today with Mr. Nilesh Kulkarni, Founder Director, International Institute of Sports Management, on the career prospects in the sports industry. So Nilesh established IISM, the first sports management and science institute in India. For 12 years now, he has been working relentlessly to carve a niche for sports industry aspirants. Nilesh is a former Indian Test cricketer who wrote himself into cricketing history by taking a wicket with the very first ball that he bowled in Test cricket, becoming the first Indian bowler and the 12th in the world to do so. Hi Nilesh, thanks for joining us.
Hi Varidi, that's such a quite a elaborative introduction. I'm not used to it now.
All right. So Nilesh, beginning with our conversation around the theme for this chat. When we talk about careers in sports, what automatically comes to mind is the image of a sports person or an athlete. And we essentially know that it is not possible for everyone to become a Virat Kohli or a Neeraj Chopra. So, could you just help our viewers understand what are the other professions that sports lovers can look at than playing the sport?
Absolutely. I think what excites me the most with this kind of a thought is the career in sport does not mean that, of course, the aspiration is to go on to play for the country in any sport you choose for. But just in case it doesn't happen to you, he or she, they have an option to get back to sport with making a lot of career choices, which probably 10 years back did not exist in India. And the reason I'm saying it because you talk about sports marketing management, administration, event management, sports science, data scientists, nutrition. All these avenues are growing fast, and how in India now in last 10 years journey, if you've seen Olympic sport have grown leaps and bounds. Not only in Olympic but Paralympic. And I'll come to cricket last because I personally feel the future is in Olympic sport, and looking at that as an option most definitely the careers in sport has a great future. And I'll tell you with the facts and the numbers. The reason for it is because it's extremely important for all the people who are listening to it to understand where the opportunities lie. In next 10 years, India requires more than 40 lakh trained manpower in different streams what we spoke about, be it infrastructure, be it manufacturing unit, marketing, broadcasting, science into data science, exercise science, health and wellness, strength and conditioning, nutrition, psychology, and these are the avenues which are growing huge in India. And I compare that with the mainstream education, which has been there over the years. If you start comparing that, if you talk about 40 lakh plus manpower, we at least need 400 universities to produce that kind of a bandwidth to support to the demand and then supply the required requisite. So I think there's a huge opportunity.
So, Nilesh, I have been in the education industry for quite some time and I've been primarily doing career counseling for students, right? So, a pattern that I've noticed in quite a large chunk of students is that they want to stay close to sports in their future, in whatever they take up as a career, but they are also interested in science subjects and primarily biology, right? So, are there any courses or career options that students who are interested in sports and biology equally can look at taking up?
Absolutely, because we've officially announced a new degree, and we are grateful to state government of Maharashtra and the central government of India, where they have actually supported our initiative of creating a dedicated nomenclature for management and science. So, since you come from an education background, you will understand the value and the importance of having a dedicated nomenclature for sports per se in management as well as in science. So the new, which now the Gazette notification is out now. So all the universities in India are entitled to use that as a dedicated nomenclature. The two defined nomenclatures are bachelor's in sports management and master's in sports management for management, and bachelor's in sports science and master's in sports science for a science stream, which pretty much offers an opportunity for aspiring management students, maybe BBA or BMM or BMS, and then get into BSM, which is a bachelor's in sports management. And likewise, those who want to pursue BSc who are interested in sport, now can opt for a BSS, which is now becoming a huge vertical for aspiring sports professionals with the PCB score. And obviously what you said about the biology, very critical for a lot of people who pursue BSc, do not define what career path they need to identify till they go master's way. But in now, they will probably can opt out for a BSS and then think of their specialization within the sports specialization by choosing out the PCB, which becomes a huge benefit for them, because if they are ardent sports lovers or playing athlete, they can definitely choose a science degree which offers a PCB pathway, 11, 12th, and of course 8, 10, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12, and then pursue BSS into specialization of their science in sports.
Okay. So, Nilesh, what kind of avenues will these students who pursue a bachelor's in sports science and then a master's in sports science find placements in? Like, where can they look at themselves being?
Okay, so if I have to look at it, the placement part of it, we have just introduced. So I can't be talking about the placement part because this is our first year of introducing. But what I can brief you about is the opportunity within the science space they can think of making a career. So to talk about three to five primarily areas which they can think of making a career is strength and conditioning, data analytics, psychology, nutrition, health and wellness. These are the areas where the demand is huge. And you talk about demand, Sports Authority of India themselves have announced that they're going to come more than 1,000 centers across India for all the Olympic sport. And imagine the requirement they will have for professionals to take care of the responsibilities of these areas within the SAI center. And I'm not even thinking about other avenues right now, but even if you focus small areas like Sports Authority of India, more than 1,000 centers, India plays 32 sport in Olympics. And if they're going to encourage those sports, 1:30 is the ratio of the job which can support the athletes. And imagine the scale and the opportunity they will have in years to come to make the difference, to create more Neeraj Chopras, more PV Sindhus, more Bajrang Punias to win medals for India.
All right, yeah. So, talking about medical and paramedical professionals, Nilesh, what are the kind of roles that paramedical professionals can find themselves in the sports industry?
Fantastic opportunities. If you ask me, the science, the research, the biomechanics of it has evolved, and how all the athletes have started realizing the value of all these areas and then started relying. Gone are the days where I was playing for the country and we only had one doctor and one manager. So we didn't know what to eat right, what to train well. Many a times into first class or the club level, the only two treatments were just have a brufen and apply ice. But the two standard treatments. And now the muscle tissues, the understanding of your body, your biomechanics need to be in place. The sports science plays extremely critical role for the development of athletes. And talk about paramedic and the science advancement is the new thing for India, for all the athletes and the careers for them to make a huge contribution. Because as our Honorable Prime Minister have stated, that he wishes to see India into top 10 medal winning tallies by 2028 or by 2032. And if that's our goal as a country goal, if India needs to become a sport playing country, that's the future for all of us.
So, Nilesh, you've played for the country and you've been into this for like really, really long. So, were there any sports psychologists at that point who used to be working with the national teams?
Well, at that point of time, no. But when I was about to retire, quite a few emerged. And we, as IISM, also got associated with quite a few. So Mugdha Baure is one of them who's doing great job in this industry. Vardhayani is supporting Mugdha also in this. Janki Rajapurkar is practicing in this. So there are quite a few who've actually started doing great work in development of athletes. And it's good to see, because even the athletes started accepting that they need to work on these things for the excellence. Because, there's a very thin line of, getting a gold or a silver or bronze or no medal. And, these are the guys who help athlete prepare better to achieve that excellence. There's a fine margin for it. And to see that kind of a contribution, not only in India, in Olympic sport, but even in cricket. there's a significant contribution for people to overcome their anxieties, overcome their challenges, mental ability to cross that line when it comes to decision making. All these things have actually remarkably helped many athletes to bring that change within them and to their games as well.
So, when I was doing my studies in psychology, I had a lot of batchmates and then eventually colleagues who wanted to get into sports psychology, but they kind of found themselves prevented because there were no formal courses they could take up, right? And then goals till date remain goals and ambitions and wishes, right? Why do you think there has been this dearth of formal education in something as important as sports psychology?
See, I think one of the areas, especially considering Indian psyche of people, they feel uncomfortable sharing their personal failures or the inability to express that. But looking at the athletes, and I always vouch for it, probably being played sport also, is that you accept failures and you learn from it. But many of the times I've observed one thing, that they don't want to accept the failures, and that bridge has been crossed by many athletes now. And it's evident to see that people rely on psychologists to support them in their mind preparation for their championships or the Commonwealth Games or the Asian Games or the World Cups or the Olympics, which now becomes an acceptable thing even at the junior level. So the parents have now started accepting that, yes, I can rely on the psychologist to help my child overcome the challenges, because he or she has the ability, the talent, but the mental aspect they need to work on to make sure that they bring that differentiator. And I think that that's a very good positive sign, because that's something which Western world practiced many years back and accepted it as well.
Right, fantastic. So, coming back to sports management, Nilesh, what do you think should be an ideal academic trajectory for a student who wants to get into sports management?
Well, the academic trajectory is very simple, because anybody who's aspiring to make a career in sport, I always use this to interact when I interact with the students also, that I love my Mondays. After playing days, I look forward to come to the college, because I don't think it's my working Monday. I believe that I belong there and I enjoy what I do the most. And sport is one such field where your aspiration is to make a career should not be your working Mondays. It should be a transition of just going to office, because I hate my Sundays. I can't come to office. And my family, my wife and my kids actually make me remind that, it's a Sunday, you have to take a break. So, but this is what I love. This is what I love doing. And for all these aspiring sports sports management professional, this should be the norm, because end of the day, they're going to get to do the best job, what they think is the best satisfying thing for them. I mean, you can ask many people around you, how many of your family members, uncle, aunts, colleagues, friends, and family friends have made the career in their loved and liked profession? And the answer is 80 to 90% of the people have not made a career in their liked and loved field. But sport offers you that. And if that is an option for you, you should go all out to make a career which you like the most. And sports as management, marketeer, administration, operations, event management, logistics, across all verticals, media, all these actually offers a great satisfying career. It's a challenging career because there are no timelines. It's partially unorganized sector, which makes it more interesting for you to be there and organize that. But it's an extremely satisfying career, because end of the day, when you come back home in the evening, you feel satisfied that you've done something which you liked and loved the most.
Just to help add to the perspective that our listeners and viewers would be getting at this point, how can you just explain what a typical day would look like in the life of a sports manager? And then I would ask you to please do that for a sports physiotherapist also.
I will definitely do that, because see, a typical day starts on time. The finishing time is up to you. If there's an event, for example, now I'll just give you a small example. A lot of our students work on IPLs and Khelo India games. So they typically work 14 to 16 hours a day. But end of the day, the kind of learnings they have and the kind of satisfaction they get, many a times, people want to get into it saying that, they'll get to click a photo with the Virat Kohlis and the Rohit Sharmas of the world, which never happens. Because what they see and what they get are two different things. But the learnings you get, for example, managing 16 departments into Khelo India games, be it youth games or university games, that responsibility to drive the entire division becomes very challenging but satisfying. And for me, that part is huge satisfaction for all the aspiring sports professionals to spend time working in the different areas. And I always share this, many a times a lot of people from media side, from science background people, the strength and conditioning, you are revolving and reacting to athletes' comfort. So you actually depend on the established athletes' time management and then fit yourself in that expectation. But the beauty of it is you create something which the athlete is motivated about. For physiotherapists, for science, health and wellness, for management people, managing their schedules, their travel schedules, their contract part, then for negotiation skills, for the athlete, representing an athlete. It's a great, great fun environment to be with.
Okay, and how would it be different or similar for a sports physiotherapist?
Well, physiotherapist, basically the challenge for a physiotherapist to make an athlete fit itself is uphill task, because there are never good, comforting timelines for it. The federations, the boards are always pushing you. If the physiotherapist suggests that he or she is going to be fit in a month's time, no, we want him or her to be fit in 2 weeks' time. Can you help us that? And then he or she needs to align themselves to process things. You see, some of the extreme injuries, obviously we take the gestation part, but some of the niggles can be treated fast. And that is an exciting part for a lot of physiotherapists to look at it differently, because traditionally you will go with the methods of settling the athlete. The inflammation needs to be settled down and then start your treatment. If the grade 2 tear is there, how are we going to treat that? But a top athlete want to focus on their qualification for the Olympic or for Commonwealth Games. So preparing them and make them fit becomes a huge task, but a great satisfaction, because these are the things which we all live for. In a normal, regular careers, these are the challenges you will never face. But in sport, the athlete pushes you to get them better and fitter for the championship, because there are no margin for errors at the top.
Coming to a different aspect of it, eventually most careers for most people boil down to the kind of money they are making in what they are doing, right?
True.
So what is the kind of monetary gain for people who are placed as, let's say, sports psychologists or managers or physiotherapists with organizations like maybe the Sports Authority of India? Just an idea is what we would do.
So, see, okay, for a freshers, the average salary is about between 30 to 50K for masters. So, which pretty much means that, your starting part is not about earning money, but gaining experience. And I always say that because in last 12 years of IISM existence, I've been asked this question hundreds and thousands of the time, that what will I earn? And my submission to many of those is one simple part. Don't look at the starting salary. Look at the experience you will gain. Look at the opportunity of learning you will have. And then compare that with the salary. But what happens with that part is, you get to earn and you get to learn. These are the two takeaways you will have in your first couple of years of your job. And once you are experienced enough in that particular space, you can start your own ventures, or you can grow into the organization based on your experience. Because I always say one thing, that experience is one thing you can't buy in market. You have to earn it. And by working only, you can earn that. So many a times people always come to us saying that, oh, I'm not comfortable with 55,000 salary. I said, don't worry about it. You're going to get experience. And even if it's your worst experience in your life, you have learned something what not to do, which will stay in your next job, which will help you into good hold in terms of when you're applying for your better prospects. And sport is growing vertically. It's not into this space. It's actually going vertical. And if you're there in the game with the experience and the knowledge you have, there's no stopping for you whatsoever. And this is my personal experience in last 10 years of seen. And I've seen, I'm not going to name few experiences, but I'm going to narrate that for a lot of our listeners and viewers. There are students from the first couple of years of our batch who refuse to accept a minimum salary of 10,000 then, saying, I'm not suited for 10,000, I'm aspiring to have more. They are still struggling to find their footholds because they were not sure of. But on the other hand, there are students who took the effort of jumping into that part and now drawing a huge salary because they gained experience, they understood the value of the business of it, and now they are driving a lot of key initiatives and extremely satisfied in their job. So an opportunity, if it comes your way, grab it because it teaches you something, it gives you experience, and on top of it, you earn money. Even if it's not as per your expectation, you still get to earn, learn, and experience. For me, that's a huge drive in sports.
In line with this, for somebody who's worked for a couple of years within the sports industry, what do you think are some of the entrepreneurial ventures which will have good scope in the near future?
Huge. I mean, I have a lot of my students, IISM students, who ventured into the entrepreneurship. One of the students have actually started his own small venture, and now it has become a mainstream, renting a cycle for their health and wellness. As small as this, manufacturing grasses, Indianized versions. There are so many aspects you can create. The science part of it, the research part of it. To become an entrepreneur, you need to know 360 degree. And if you have to know 360 degree, you need to first attempt what you're not good at, because that will stay with you as a learning. If you think you're good at operations, think about a sales and a marketing. Or if you're good at sales and marketing, you need to jump into operations, because that will teach you what you're not good at. So when you aspire to get into entrepreneurship, this part stays with you to understand the finances part, understanding the HR part of it, to understand drafting contracts, the legal aspect. I'm not saying that you're going to be expert into legal standpoint, but you need to understand the legalities and nuances of it. Unless you work in those departments, you will not equip yourself to the rights and the wrongs. So anybody who's aspiring to be entrepreneur, get a 360 degree understanding for your own views. And the platform suggests as the career 360 degree, you need to know the 360 degree knowledge for you to become an entrepreneur.
On a different tangent, Nilesh, you would know that here in India, a lot of people function on the thought that, if it is anything offbeat or unconventional that you want to do in your career, outside of India is where you should be. Right? So how true do you think it is for sports? I mean, is there a difference in the value placed on sports professionals here in India and that in foreign countries?
Well, things are changing, and the entire world is looking at India as the next sporting destination. So why go overseas when you have the opportunity to make a career in India? And then you make a difference, because a lot of people get tempted to do the same. But when it comes to, there's a very good term in the business world called ROI, return of investment. And if you're spending decent amount of money for your degree programs, are you going to get a desired return of investment? Is the call you and your parent needs to decide. But if the career opportunities and the prospects are in India to make a good living out of it and be extremely satisfied, then that career choice you need to define and decide for yourself.
We come to the end of this chat, Nilesh. Any final advice you'd want to give to the aspirants of the sports industry?
Absolutely. Trust me, it's an extremely challenging field, but equally greatly satisfying profession. If you love sport and want to make a career in sport, not only by playing, with this new education policy, which will offer you multiple entry exit option also, give it a serious thought, because end of the day, you will be satisfied and hugely benefited for the kind of effort you put in, because it will not be a working Monday for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Nilesh. It was absolutely a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It was wonderful interacting.